Well, good evening. My name is Carlos Gonzalez. I'm the Chair of Public Safety and Homeland Security for the state of Massachusetts on the House of Representatives side. And I want to welcome you all to STCC Forum here. And more importantly, I think I want to acknowledge that all my colleagues in government are here, and we are here to listen and to learn from people that are doing the work on the ground as well as the general public. But this is part of the Judiciary Committee, and we have the chair, Michael Day, that will be here. And this is part of one listening session that's going on throughout the state of Massachusetts. We know that the best way to write legislation is to listen, and it's to listen to all the regions, as many regions have different ways of tackling the same issues. So on behalf of the Speaker of the House of Massachusetts, thank you for coming out tonight, but also want to just acknowledge that the most important people in any government is the people. Thank you. Without further ado, our chairman, Michael Day.
Thank you, Chairman Gonzalez, the great chair of our Public Safety Committee, and we work very closely together and have a terrific friendship. So, Carlos, thanks for welcoming me down here to Springfield, or out here to Springfield. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Day. I am the state representative for the 31st Middlesex District, which consists of the towns of Stoneham and Winchester, about 10 miles north of Boston. So I'm thrilled to be out here with my colleagues in government and friends from the Springfield delegation. I'm going to provide you at the outset a little bit of a background as to what we're doing here. Carlos, Chairman Gonzalez had mentioned that we are on multiple stops on this listening tour. I'll introduce our panelists, we'll hear from them, and then we're going to open it up for public discussion, comments, feedback, thoughts as well. I've said this, and those who have been on the tour with me and with us, I see some familiar faces out there. You're going to hear the same words I've said in many of the other spots. We are incredibly fortunate to live here in Massachusetts. We have the top education system, the top healthcare system, the highest quality of living in the United States, and we have the lowest rate of gun deaths in the continental United States. We have a strong network of laws that encourage responsible gun ownership and a common sense system that preserves our residents' constitutional rights while also ensuring the safety of our communities. The system, however, as we all know, is far from perfect. The United States Supreme Court has overturned some of our laws. Advances in technology enable would-be criminals to produce untraceable guns. So stated simply, we in Massachusetts continue to face significant challenges. Our communities face challenges that are far from novel or limited to firearms. Issues such as suicide, domestic violence, drug-related and organized crime. They've been with us for some time, but their impacts to our communities remain no less destructive. Many communities in Massachusetts are now dealing with a spike in organized criminal activity that's resulting in unprecedented levels of gun violence. Yet we also hear from responsible gun owners, from collectors, from hunters, and others, that some of the laws in our books are confusing or outright contradictory, that compliance is challenging, especially as neighboring states have completely different systems and approaches, and the federal landscape changes with each new law or judicial holding. And it's in that context that House Speaker Ron Mariano tasked me and my colleagues and friends in government with taking a comprehensive look at the impact that guns are having on the residents of Massachusetts, to determine how our structure fits within federal law, and to identify where our policies and resources need to be directed to ensure the rights and safety of all. In addition to traditional research then, as Chair Gonzalez had mentioned, we've embarked on a statewide listening tour. Tonight's discussion is the 10th stop around Massachusetts on that tour. We wrap up tomorrow in Lenox, Massachusetts. Springfield is commonly known as the city of firsts. Its strong industrial center allows the city to continue to reinvent itself as it drives economic growth and innovation in Western Mass. It's home to a people of diverse backgrounds where families of all faiths and countries of origin come together to demonstrate the vibrancy that a diverse community can offer. Yet these strengths are tempered by challenges that all great cities face. The scourge of the drug trade has tainted tight-knit neighborhoods, bringing gun violence with it. That violence does great harm to all that live and work here. Systemic problems rob too many of our residents of opportunity. We as a society and we as your legislators quite simply have to do better. as we've done in Cape Cod, in Worcester, in Greenfield, in Brockton, in Lowell, in Roxbury, Framingham, New Bedford, and most recently Lawrence. My colleagues and I, as Chairman Gonzalez said, are here to listen and learn. We each come to this issue with differing views. Us being able to share those differing perspectives with respect and in frank dialogue is essential to our democracy. I recognize that it may ring hollow to hear an elected official say this, but this is not intended to be a political discussion. I trust that each of you recognize how interrelated, complex, and challenging the issues we're about to discuss truly are. My colleagues and I come to tonight's discussion with no set wish list of changes. We know we don't have all of the answers. We're here to listen and to engage, to understand how our statutes impact our residents and how we as legislators can improve those laws for all. Massachusetts has always distinguished itself as a place where we face our challenges with candor and our disagreements with mutual respect and civility. I trust that tonight will be another example of that. Prior to introducing our panelists, I want to provide a few words of thanks. Thank you to President John Cook here, to John Reynolds and the rest of the staff at STCC for hosting us tonight in this terrific facility. To Representative and Chairman, my friend Carlos Gonzalez, and his staff director, Dave McNeil, for all the help you've extended us. We appreciate it. Thank you to Stephen Carey and his team at Focus Springfield for coming to record the event tonight, and to the media who's joined us as well. Finally, I want to thank and recognize my colleagues who have joined us here. In addition to Chairman Gonzalez, from the great city of Springfield, we've got Chairman Bud Williams, the great Bud Williams. We've also got Chairman Angelo Pupolo, Representative Brian Ash, Representative Pat Duffy, Tara Jacobs from the Governor's Council as well. Thank you. And staff from Senator Oliveira's office. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. I think the breadth of the representation shows everyone just how important this is, and to underscore Chairman Gonzalez's words, how much we want to listen and learn to improve our democracy. So thank you all for joining us here. Now for our panelists. To my immediate left, Juanita Batchelor. In 2014, Ms. Batchelor tragically lost her beloved son, Darrell Lee Jenkins Jr., to gun violence. Since then, she's been tirelessly fighting for justice for him, while supporting others who are impacted by the homicide of a family member, close friend, neighbor, schoolmate, or member of the community. Understanding how difficult it is to overcome grief alone, and driven by the desire to turn her pain into productivity, Juanita set out to help create an organization to address the needs of families impacted by violence. In 2015, Juanita's dream came true as she launched the Darrell Lee Jenkins Jr. Resource Center, known as DLJ. The purpose of this organization is to support families and friends who have lost loved ones to murder. The DLJ fights for justice, safety, and strives to empower communities that are impacted by high rates of violence. Right next to Ms. Batchelor is Jarix Santiago, who was born and raised in this great city of Springfield. She holds a bachelor's degree in science from Elms College and serves as the Director of Intervention and Outreach for the New North Citizens Council, an advocacy and public and human services organization that provides services to Hampden County residents with an emphasis on the multicultural community. She carries a burning passion to see transformation in the lives of young people in our community. Welcome, Ms. Santiago, as well. And to the far left is Francena Bruen, who's the Executive Director of Families Against Violence. A graduate of Springfield Technical Community College, Ms. Brown's social advocacy work stems from the tragic death of two of her sons to gun violence. With over 30 years of experience providing human services, Ms. Bruen has served her community in an exemplary fashion by driving regular community events that provide much-needed resources to our families who are in need. So thank you, all three of our panelists tonight, for joining us. And without further ado, let me stop talking and turn it over to Juanita.
Good evening, everyone. As he said, my name is Juanita Batchelor, and I know all too well about gun violence. My son, Darrell Lee Jenkins Jr., was murdered in front of our home in 2014. This was the worst day of my life, but the trauma doesn't stop there. I lost my niece, Tamara Clark, in 2020 to a drive-by shooting on Oakland Street in Springfield. And to make matters even worse, I lost my son-in-law to gun and violence in 2020, killed fighting, trying to save his life from being robbed. So all 5 of my grandchildren are now fatherless due to gun violence. All of us mothers have no closure, like other many families, because our cases are still unsolved. I started a support group in 2015 called MORE, Mother Overlooked, Reaching Out Empowerment. That's how I felt at the time when I lost my son, Darrell. I was a mother overlooked, and I wanted to reach out and empower my community with folks that look like me, been through what I've been through, or definitely knew the struggle. So in 2022, we revealed our new name, the Darrell Lee Jenkins Jr. Resource Center. The DLJ was brought about to bring resource and a safe space for families of homicide, missing and murdered. Also, culturally competent families for the love and care. As I said before, our many times is difficult working with people that don't know what we're going through. The DA's office, the advocates, and they work for the DA. They don't work for us. Bay State bereavement don't have many peers that look like me. So the DLJ wanted to be a place that truly understands, but it's difficult when trying to fund continuously. The money is going to bigger organizations instead of organizations like the DLJ. So the DLJ had some solutions. Our first solution is funding to pay surviving families to become advocates for families of unsolved homicides, paying for their positions to be that. Or either to help fund places like the DLJ to also be an advocacy center for families of color to support them. Because when the DA's office is closed, families still need support. We're still out here looking for some people, as me, housing. My son was shot in front of our home. We were scared to stay there. There was no funding or no particular way for us to be moved out of that area. We had to go through a rise for social justice to get help from there. To just have a safe space for gun safety, if they want to drop their guns off and they're scared to go to the police station, we could be an area where they can feel safe to drop their guns off at. When I'm saying this about the other organizations, I'm not saying this to disregard their help or their work. They are still well needed. We just need more. We can't put everything under one umbrella. We also, secondly, to prevent gun violence, we want to trace guns, trace the guns, investigate the origins of seized illegal firearms, focus on the hot spots where violent crimes are occurring, and get the guns out, end cruel wait times, reinstate a city coroner to pronounce murder victims dead so their families do not have to wait for hours while their body of their loved ones are laying in the street. Prevent violence at the root cause. Set up programs to address the underlying issues that lead to violent crimes, to intervene and prevent violence before it takes place. Engage members of the community to work with licensed counselors or confidential bias to identify people who are at risk or either being victims of or perpetrators of a violent crime. Locate missing persons, develop a missing persons advisory for those individuals who do not meet the Amber Alert or Silver Alert criteria. Set up a volunteer program related to the missing persons. Volunteers can assist police in active missing person cases by canvassing from door to door. Promote and enforce the use of technology and media and phone, GPS tracking. Thirdly, we would also like to know how many police staff hours are put into unsolved murders. What is the budget for this position? Are the detectives in the homicide unit experienced, and if so, what are their qualifications to do this important work? We propose that legislation to offer reparations to victims of police violence as well as police neglect of duty. Proposal for legislators to require police officers to carry liability insurance. Proposal for legislation is to have independent civilian police officers and administrators. Proposal for legislator to simplify the process of dissolving existing departments. Gun violence is an epidemic here in Springfield that is also rampant gun violence that doesn't result in death, that barely makes the news. Parents are afraid to let their children play outside. Our young people are growing into adults in a culture of death and danger. This should not be our new normal. This is not normal. Many go missing, leaving their families agonized for their safety. This is an affront to the United States Declaration of Independence, which affirms that all people are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienability rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Juanita. Jarix.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jarix Santiago. I serve as the Director of Intervention and Outreach, but not only that, for New North Citizens Council. I am a daughter of someone who I lost to gun violence prevention at the age of 6 years old back in 2002. Time has flown by since then. It's now been 26 years, and I've grew a passion to be there for young people who've also lost other people in a similar stance. As Juanita mentioned, there's not too many of us that look like them. And that's important for our young people, to have someone in the same place that may have went through the same walk of path, but is now here guiding them to be better. Back in 2002, I couldn't imagine what my life could have been now. I seen my mom raise me as a single parent. I had to step up, help my mom raise my younger siblings. And there wasn't much time to be a kid because of that. Since then, I've joined New North about 4.5 years ago, and I grew my passion. Before New North, I believed I wanted to be a forensic psychologist and work for the DA's office. But then I realized doing that one-on-one mentoring and catching the youth before it's too late is far more important than seeing them once they're in jail. Today, I would like to say that we would need more services for our young people. That is the crucial moment, to catch them when they're young, to get them their mental health stability, their housing stabilized, their education, their vocations, whatever it may be, giving them the opportunity to be a kid, to release those barriers that a lot of our people of color experience because we're too caught up in growing up too fast. Let them be kids and let them get the services that they need. So where I am coming from today is saying that we need more funding to provide these services, as Juanita has already mentioned, and I'm sure Francena will also be mentioning. The way to stop gun violence is to do these preventative measures, to do the intervention that we need in the city of Springfield and across Hampden County and all across Massachusetts. With that being said, I am going to pass it to Francine, as I do not want to get too teary-eyed on this subject, because as many people may know, if you lost somebody, then you know where the burning passion is coming from.
Amen.
Thank you, Jarix. Francine.
Good evening. My name is Francena Brown. I just want to thank Chairman Representative Bud Williams and Chairman Gonzalez for the support they have done for me. My name is Francine, like I said, Francena Brown. I am the Executive Director of Families Against Violence, where we have our organization where we support families who have lost loved ones. And like Juanita said, there are a lot of programs out here that doesn't, doesn't reach out to families as much, but we are out here. And we are servicing families who have lost them. We have support meetings every 2 weeks. I lost 2 sons to gun violence. One was killed in 2006, which his anniversary will be June 12th. He was killed in 2006, and the other one would be was killed just last year, February 6th. And I just want to say it is hard to losing loved ones, especially your children. This is something that no mother needs to go through, of losing their loved ones, especially your children. We expect our children to bury us, not us burying our children, especially to this senseless gun violence, especially to the senseless guns that are out here. Guns that 15-year-olds are getting hold on to, and killing and taking lives. And this is not what we expect. We want to see a lot of things done, because we don't want to see other parents continue on going through losing their children and losing their loved ones to this senseless crime. So, and it's a sad thing that we just go through it, and I'm going through it constantly. And other mothers, we have fathers that's also going through these senseless crimes as well, where they're coming for support, they're coming for help. And there is families out in the community that wants to support, that wants to help. We need more money out here to help these communities and help these leaders and help these co-workers out here to come out and continue on helping families like us to so that we can stop all these killings and support. We need the support. Sorry, I'm just a little nervous, but we need the money out here for the support, because there are workers out here that are willing to work, but we just don't have the funds. So we want everyone to, the legislature and the just.
Take your time.
Our organizations was funded by MOVA, which MOVA is in the city of Boston, and they gave us $500,000 to support families, but it's not enough. It's not enough. There are funerals out here that people are still trying to bury their children. It's not enough. We have to pay for plots. Families have to pay for plots. It's not enough. $8,000 in our city is not enough to pay for someone's funeral. We need more money. There are other cities and states that gets more money, and we need the money here, more money to bury our children and pay for plots. Families can't pay for plots. I pay for a lot of funerals out of my own pocket. I got broke. I was homeless because I was paying, but I end up still paying for someone's funeral. And that's what I do. So please pray.
So first off, thank you all for sharing your stories and losses, and we are truly sorry for your losses, but you've turned that tragedy into incredibly productive resources that you're bringing to our community. So thank you for what you're doing. I want to turn it over to my colleagues to the extent that they want to offer thoughts as well in a second. But the reason we're out here is because of our colleagues from Springfield saying, get off of Beacon Hill and come out and listen. So I want to thank my colleagues for bringing us out here as well. And just give you one opportunity more. And we hear you loud and clear. And I can tell you that your representatives here have been consistent in delivering that same message you just delivered. But if we know it's resources, but what in particular more can we do from the legislative side of things to help with what you're all doing?
Look at the crisis that we're currently having with housing for young people. I sit on the board for Springfield, and there is a lot. That is one of the reasons why they're getting into trouble. They're out on the streets, nowhere to stay, fending for themselves. If there was a way to have more housing support for youth, 17 to 24, to really cater to those needs, I really believe that would make a real big improvement in our city. Following with that would be second, mental health. We have a bad stigma for our people of color to express themselves. What could we do to make that a norm for them?
I would say I agree with the mental health, but I also feel like in my area where I live, Forest Park, we have no resource, we have no community center or nothing in the area for the young kids in our area. And in that area in Forest Park, we are seeing a lot of gun violence, and the kids are getting younger and younger that's getting caught with the guns. So I feel if we have a place in that area with mental health services and stuff that families can afford for their kids to be able to come to, and definitely the DLJ, for their kids to come and have a safe space, even if it's to just be to talk, to say what they have to say, or just somewhere to get off. I don't want to go with this crew today. I want to just come here, that they got a space to go. We have nothing like that. Mason Square has the Dunbar. Mason Square has Martin Luther King. We have nothing, the North End. They have the South End Community Center. We have nothing like that in the Forest Park area. So those two things, and mental health and that is two of my things I think will help.
I agree with them. The mental health, we definitely need more of those, and also the services, plenty of services that we need and we don't have. There just it's a lot of services that we're trying to provide, and that is counseling, and we need more counselors. We definitely need more counselors because these kids are really going through it. I talk to these kids on a daily basis. They are going through it. They are going through it, and they don't trust too many people. So by them not trusting, they're not talking, they're not telling, they've seen too much. They're going through stuff at home where they're not getting fed, and they don't have beds. They don't have a roof over their head, or they're getting teased, or they're getting bullied. So they need the service. So they need more mentors out here to talk to these kids and just let them, because these kids don't trust everybody. They don't. So if they can trust you, they're going to tell you. They're going to talk to you. So that's what we need more of.
I want to, Patrick, do you have the microphone? I'm going to open it up now for the public to talk, but if my colleagues want to offer some words to start, more than welcome. For those in the public who wish to speak, raise your hand. We'll have Patrick come right over with the microphone, and we'll go from there. Chairman.
Thanks, Pat. My name is Chairman Bud Williams of the Black Latino Caucus and chairperson of the House Racial Equality Committee, and you're in the, I think, the 10th and 11th Hampton District. I think this is the 10th, 11th Hampton, Carlos has the 11th Hampton. So thank you, Chairman Day, thank you. You heard our heat and you brought Beacon Hill to our folks. First of all, I want to thank this amazing panel. What courage and determination. I've watched all your careers. It's tough to lose a loved one, and you're still giving back, which is good.
Thank you.
I'm going to be real brief, and certainly to Mrs. Shepherd out there, who's part of Families Against Violence, and to my colleagues in government, to the Dean, Pupolo. He is the Dean out here.
He is.
I've been talking to Chairman Day for a while. I'm going to focus on one area. And we're not here, second right amendments, people have the right to have guns and all that. I'm going to focus on the illegal guns coming into the area. Now, if you get on the 91 corridor, these gun runners run from New York 95 to 91, straight up 91, all the way to Brattleboro, Vermont, New Hampshire, then come back down to Boston. I'm going to put a challenge to the federal government. ATF has to do a better job. I say this very often. A young person could get a gun as quick as you can buy a Big Mac. That's how easy it is. And as one of the panelists said, these young 15 and 14-year-old kids are buying guns. Our black and brown kids don't produce guns. They don't buy guns. They don't make them. They're coming from somewhere, but they purchase them. It's been said to me, when there is some kind of activity and some life is taken in any urban area in New England, that gun runner, they come into the neighborhood, they set up shop. Mr. Stokes will tell you the same thing. They set up shop somewhere and they sell guns right out of the back of their station wagon or truck or car. I don't know where they get it from, how they get it, but it happens. We need to do a better job of taking the illegal guns out of the hands of individuals. Yes. That's my mission. And to what you say, in Massachusetts, we pay about $8,000 to bury an individual who lost their life. We need to add more money. We need to do a much better job in doing that. Now, we have the toughest gun laws in the nation, lowest rate of homicides, people getting killed compared to the nation, in the nation. So that's my focus. Chairman Day, I said this to you earlier today as we talked. How do we then take these illegal guns, handguns, and assault weapons? Some of these young people are better armed than our police department. They're better armed. So that's my focus. Thank you for coming down, and the panelists. I applaud you folks.
Thank you.
What courage. And all of your programs are doing great. And thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Chair Day, I want to thank you for being here, Springfield. Certainly, and for the hard work you and your staff's been doing on this tour. It's not easy. 11 sites across the Commonwealth. There's no harder working chair, certainly than Chair Day on this, and I just want to commend you for your dedication, your commitment there. As my dear friend and colleague, Representative Williams said, I am the dean of the House, but let me just be clear on one thing. I'm not the oldest member of the delegation. I'm going to let you guys figure that out for yourselves, who might be the oldest, but I am the dean. But again, it's an honor and privilege to be here and listen to this testimony. First to the panel, I just want to say, what powerful testimony, and what courage. Certainly, not only tonight, but you've been doing this for many, many years, and I mean, it's not easy. After how many times? Hundreds of times maybe you've done it, you still break down. So certainly the emotion is there, and like you say, that's where the fire comes from, and that's what we need. Unfortunately, it took tragedies, right, to do that. But the advocacy that all three of you and many of your friends and family members bring is second to none. And certainly we wouldn't be here if it were not for your strength and your courage and your determination to get that message out and to make a change. So to that, I do want to say thank you. And your voices and your message does not go unnoticed, does not go unheard. We're here tonight, and we will take that back to Boston as well as the chair of this committee. And that's what it's about, right? I just want to say that it's a deliberative process in Boston, right? We don't do things in a sort of knee-jerk reaction, right? We're here listening, we're taking testimony, we're gathering facts and gathering data, see what's working, right? See what's not working, see what has to be improved, and see what has to be drastically improved. We hear it loud and clear. Obviously, money, is the bigger issue, but unfortunately, we just can't throw money at everything, right? We've got to come up with a plan. We know, from your testimony where it needs to go, and we will bring that message back. I know there's going to be a report that's compiled, and that'll go back, and we're going to look at that and certainly see where we can fund and where we can improve things. A lot of work that has to be done. There's no doubt about it. We made a lot of improvements. We did a gun reform bill several years ago. There's more legislation, I believe, that's obviously filed, maybe coming along down the pike, to improve what we've done, right? We're always evolving. We're always trying to look at better ways. How can we improve it? How can we stop the gun violence? How can we stop the illegal guns? I think that's what we all really have to focus on, right? If you pare this down, right, I'm not going to say the exact number, but from a vast majority, if not close to 100% of these, gun murders and violence are through illegal guns. So that's where we have to go. I mean, Chair Williams hit the nail on the head. Certainly the issue becomes, how do we stop it? What do we do with this trafficking of guns, these illegal guns, right? It's so easy to get, they're so cheap to get, right? How do we stop and prevent that from happening? That's going to be, the challenge. That has been the challenge, right? So the lawful gun owners, right? For the most part, there's not a problem with them, right? They're licensed, right? They're trained. They play by the rules. They follow the rules. And that's not an issue. But we need to look at the illegal guns. We have to look at how we can stop all this trafficking, how can we make it harder for illegal guns to be put into use and to continue to be sold in the community. So that's my commitment. I'm certainly going to continue that. I'm certainly going to look at ways that we can fund and ways that we can work together with our leadership team and the speaker. Certainly Speaker Mariano has been a tremendous advocate, a tremendous asset. He's authorized this tour. He wants to get something done. He's again, a very deliberative person. He's going to take the facts and the figures and the information that the committee compiles and that we have the input on, and all the other legislators across the Commonwealth that have been to these hearings, and he's going to make some real good decisions, and we're going to all work together at the table and come up with a way that we can, make the Commonwealth even stronger. So I want to thank, my colleague, Chair Gonzalez for his kind words, certainly Representative Duffy and my friend Representative Ash for being here as well, and Governor's Council. It's not too often, well, she's been on tour, right? Not too often we get to see a Governor's Council at these types of meetings, and I think that's critically important of her commitment and her dedication and why she's here, right? She wants to improve not only the livelihood, from a Governor's Council perspective, but from a quality of life issue and a life and death issue. So again, for that, thank you all. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. I'm Representative Ash, 2nd Hampden District. I want to thank all of you for coming out here and making this important to us, making this more important and showing us what you want and what you need. To Chairman Day, as everyone else said, this isn't just for show. This is for a purpose, to find out what's really going on. To our panelists, thank you so much. We could do work days and days and days, but nothing compares to what you do and what you've gone through and what your words mean to everybody. I had the honor of serving on the public, as Chairman Pupolo mentioned, we did gun legislation about 10, 12 years ago, and I served on public safety, homeland security back then. We did a similar tour across the state before we finally had legislation passed. And some people ask, well, if we've got the best gun legislation in the country, if we've got the least deaths, why do we even need to address it? Well, we need to address it because times change, things evolve, and so do our laws need to evolve with them. Mm-hmm. As Chairman Williams mentioned about the illegal guns coming down the quarter from 91, well, there's also ghost guns out there. It's a new phenomenon in the last 5-10 years where they use 3D printers and they make the guns. And I had the honor of going with Chairman Gonzalez to the Springfield Police Department last year, and we saw some of these guns, and you wouldn't know the difference between that and a normally made gun. And it's scary if kids can have access to those. And yeah, we can punish kids, we can punish whoever gets these, but that's not the root of the problem. The root of the problem is how do we stop them? How do we stop them from coming in?
That's right.
And I think the best point, you can't wait till they're 15. That's too late.
Right.
They've already got things embedded in their minds. They already think certain thoughts. We've got to get them when they're small, when they're not tainted by society.
Yes.
And that's what we really need to work on collectively. We're legislators, but we also have families. We also have children. And I can't even imagine the pain you've gone through and you continue to go through every time you have to speak about it. But every time you do it, it makes a difference. Other people hear it, and you'd have to have no soul for that not to hit you in the heart. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. We'll continue to do whatever we can to make this a better Commonwealth, hopefully to make this a better country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Pat Duffy. I'm the state rep from the city of Holyoke. And so what I would add to this is Holyoke and Springfield, like we are sister cities. And your problems are our problems. We have to find regional solutions. So I would just say to the panelists, like I've already learned a lot. And I share the thanks that everybody else is giving you. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the rest of the conversation. Chairman Day, your staff, thank you all.
Yes.
Thanks. So again, folks, thank you to my colleagues. Folks, raise your hand. Patrick will come around and we'll get moving. Sir.
Mark John Felice. Springfield Technical Community. STC is the home of Shays Rebellion. After the Revolutionary War, the former soldiers, the veterans, Their property, their mortgages were coming due because they couldn't run their farms during the war. The Continental Congress decided the states would pay the vouchers. However, Massachusetts decided to hem and haw and put it off until the people started losing their farms. The veterans stood up with their rifles, shut down the courts, stopped the evictions, and eventually tried to take over the armory next door. Some of the people in the Massachusetts General Court were kind enough to buy the bond or the notes at a much reduced price. And then when it finally came time for the General Court to decide how much to pay, we paid the most. Of course, many of those bonds or those notes were held by the General Court. They didn't get rid of Article 17. They didn't get rid of the Second Amendment. In fact, they ratified the Constitution with the Second Amendment after the rebellion, the armed rebellion. So it wasn't a problem then. What the problem now is, no matter what Bud Williams says about guns, you could have 1 billion guns here. If nobody wants to shoot somebody, they're not going to shoot them. If there are consequences to harming somebody, they're not going to do it. The way you control a population is you let them have stuff that they want to have, preserve what they're willing to have, what makes them happy, and take it away from them if they don't act properly in society. The one thing you have about every person that has been mentioned that was murdered in this situation was they were victims of bullies. You got to go out there and stop the rhetoric, stop accusing the police of being bad, stop saying racism, and get down to the fundamentals. Do what the successful people do. Don't blame the successful person because they have more money than you. You got to go to school. You got to stay in school. You have to do what it takes to be successful. And what's happening right now is we're paying people to stay out of their neighborhoods. We give people, the General Court gives people to stay out of their neighborhoods. They got free money. They're not working. They have nothing to lose because everything was handed them for free. They start doing drugs. The drug dealers start shooting up the place. We go back to the 1994 assault weapons ban. It was 5 years after that the Columbine happened. It didn't help. We know what helps. Self-confidence. Students who have self-confidence, full families, mentoring. Get people to go into the schools and help with the teaching, help with the mentoring. Go in and have people who are successful and tell these people to follow the successful people. Because if you don't, they're just going to follow the gangbangers. And the gangbangers don't care because they don't think they're going to live past 26. It's not until you realize that you have an entire life ahead of you.
Everyone who was murdered wasn't a gangbanger.
Was it?
I didn't say they were, but the shooters are generally. These are people who don't think there's a future. So there's no reason to invest in the future. We know what to do. We've always known what to do. It's not blame the gun. It's not social engineering. It's self-confidence, self-respect, understanding that you're in a community with other people. And that is what the General Court needs to push, and not try to make the gun a scapegoat. Because as soon as you get rid of the gun, like in England, they're going to find another weapon. It's to the point where now they want to ban household knives in England. Right? And then you still got the shootings, but because they banned the guns, they cover them up. It's not, you can put all the guns out there. If somebody doesn't want to hurt somebody with a gun, they're not going to do it. And that is what you need to attack. You need to go after the people. Self-confidence. We saw that there was something coming forward. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I do mind. I got a hold. Thank you. I'm good. I can hold. I'm grown. Thank you.
Charles,
All right, hi everyone. My name is Minister Charles Stokes, and I was very appreciative of what you said, and I understand what you meant to say. I don't hold it against you. So we are, you mentioned about us being the first, and we are the first. Springfield is the deadliest city to live in the state of Massachusetts. We also rank 54th in the nation as the most dangerous city to live in America. So the solutions that we have, 35 years ago, I was shot by a gun. I was in the streets. I had no hope, and I was hopeless. And I did a lot of dumb stuff. I'm not blaming anybody for that. I made some mistakes. But this is 2023. So some of the solutions that we have to prevent gun violence, and this gentleman here mentioned it, they have ghost guns now. The young people are on computers and they're building ghost guns. You know why? In our communities, in our community centers, we have no computers. If they don't have something positive to do, they're going to find something to do. And this is our concern as Black people and Latino people. And what we're asking for is to be a part of the solution. There has nothing ever been designed out of the European mind that has been benefiting of Black and brown people. So we need to be in control of healing our young people. We ask you guys to let us handle our children. There's nothing that they can do to help them outside of us. This is our family. I grew up on Catherine and Bay Street. When I went to jail, we was in Burgess Circle, and in 2023, it's called Sycamore now. We know the young people in our community, but we don't have what it takes financially to establish institutions that they can come to and get love, support, and help. This is what the DLJ provides. We provide solutions to the problem. We work with ROCA. ROCA is doing a wonderful job in our city. We collaborate with them, with young people who just don't got no hope. There's abandonment issues, there's mental health issues, there's sexual issues that take place in the homes. And in our school system right here in Springfield, Mass, young Black and brown children are graduating, reading at a kindergarten level. These are facts that are taking place in our city. So what do they do when they graduate? They can't read and can't write. I was embarrassed to tell people that I couldn't read and write. So I had to do something to get some money. And I only went where it was easy at, because I didn't think nobody gave a damn about me. I was a victim of gun violence. A police officer saved my life 35 years ago as I was laying bleeding out in the streets of Springfield, Mass. We like the police, we just don't like dumb policing that kills us for a stolen car, or shoot us because they are afraid. If you're carrying guns and ammunition and you're afraid of a 15-year-old, perhaps that's not the job for you. If you are afraid to be a police officer, there's other things you can do. You can be a florist, you can lay carpets, but you don't have to have a gun if you are afraid. So some of the rhetoric that we hear, I don't blame, it's not racism. That's too easy. It's ignorance. They just don't know because they don't live where we live. Francine lives where we live. She lives where we live. Juanita lives where we live. People don't live where Joe and I live, a veteran. We're in the community. Carlos lives where we live. Me and Carlos grew up together. So what we're asking for is to be a part of the solutions, to be at the table. And I can guarantee you, if you allow us to help in this process, will gun violence ever stop? No, we're not that naive. But we have the power to get to our children and make a difference. They know we love them. They know we love them. Resources are available. In this city alone, all this ARPA money came into this city. None of it was given to us. The Fontaine brothers got $6 million of money. All of these businesses is getting money. The ARPA funds came in from the George Floyd Act. But Juanita Batchelor, $25,000. That's all we got. Everybody benefits off of the ARPA money but us. So we're not blaming anybody. We're not calling people racist. What we're saying is, if we are not at the table, being a part of the solution, since you're a taxpayer and you perceive we don't work. No, I'm just saying, guess who pay the taxes? You do. If you don't let us help, guess who pay the taxes? The people you said pay. Hardworking, good people who we should follow. And I agree with you. But if you don't let us help you, you'll have to foot the bill. So we need to work together for a solution to this problem. And I agree with you. So I'm going to finish with this. We need funding and resources to do the job. And we guarantee you, if you let us help, we will solve this problem. We have young people, I'm gonna finish with this. They listen to the stories of who killed their people, right? They're 7, 8 years old. So when they gravitate towards Sycamore or Knox Ave or the Ave, they're seeking revenge. We're not dealing with the mental health issues of our young people. So now they have a hard heart. They want to get revenge for the death of their father, their brother, and their sister. But because we don't get the proper mental health services, they grow up. My nieces and my nephews, you know where they grew up going? To Burgess Circle. They have children because they hear the stories. We're here to stop the generational curses. We're here to stop it. We can do it. I promise you, Mr. Day, if you let us help you, we can do it. I promise you. Thank you.
That's how you do it.
Up in the back.
That's how you do it. Because they're questioner education.
I'm sure Patrick won't let me hold the mic. He hasn't yet. The Reverend did an outstanding job. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for the benefit of the folks here. It appears I'm the only director from Gun Owners actually, and I get it. This isn't a gun confiscation hearing by any stretch of the imagination. But important things came out. Ladies, first and foremost, you have, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know the word for it. Thank you for coming up here. It takes a lot of courage.
Thank you.
What you did.
Yes,
For
I
us.
appreciate it. Yeah.
And I just wanted to point out that I've been in a couple of these. Obviously, Patrick and the chairman know that. And there's important things that keep coming up. And we just heard it again. 3 ladies and a reverend, mental health. Mental health, mental health, mental health. We have been saying this for a long time. We need to address the mental health crisis. Picking out any type, whether it's a ghost gun, a 30-round magazine, a collapsible buttstock or whatever, that's not going to solve the mental health crisis. It's mental health, it's mental health, it's mental health. The other thing that came up is illegal firearms. There's a big difference between the lawful gun owners and the people that are buying guns that are stolen out of gun stores in Georgia, out of homes in New York. If you go to, and this is specifically for the legislative folks that are in here, if you go to the ATF page, there is the most recent study on trafficking, commerce and trafficking in firearms. The first 2 volumes are up. I went to a presentation at Westfield State College probably about a month ago now, and the 3rd volume was also discussed. We have academics from Western Mass that are working on this, as well as a retired special agent in charge of ATF out of Boston. It will open your eyes if you compare the statistics in there, which are coming from all over the country. This is not just the work of a couple of people that are putting it together. Compare the statistics there versus the rhetoric that you hear in the news media, where everyone screams assault weapons or they use certain buzzwords, and you find out that no, it's stolen guns, it's a 9mm pistol. It's basically used by somebody who's been in the criminal justice system and before the court somewhere between 8 and 13 times, and they're usually somewhere under the age of 26 years old. And they're not necessarily parts of the minority communities, but I think if you look at the demographics across the country, that you'll find the economically depressed areas and the minority communities are taking the brunt of this. So we need to focus on the issues the good Reverend just brought up, that these 3 ladies brought up: mental health, mental health, mental health, and cut off the illegal guns at the source. There needs to be consequences for the guy that's been through the court system 3 times. He's walking around with an ankle bracelet. He gets picked up. He gets picked up by the cops, and he's out on recognizance, and he's got his 3rd gun on him. There's something wrong when that happens. But other than that, we focus on the mental health. And the taxpayers and the law-abiding gun owners and the people that don't look like you, but maybe me, that worked in law enforcement for 44 years, will support you and help you.
Yes.
Yes. So
And we will advocate.
Thank you.
And as another note real quick, for historic purposes and to your comments about the greatness of the city of Springfield, 79 years ago, right now, as I'm speaking here, Pathfinders were landing in France, preceding D-Day, carrying, for the majority of them, firearms that were designed and built right here on the grounds of the Springfield Armory, which is known as the Arsenal of Democracy. So while we address mental health and illegal guns, let's make our democracy great. That's all. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Panel, state representatives, speaker, man, it's very important that you're out here in our community to bring information and understand the importance of helping these mothers who have lost loved ones in these organizations that's doing the grassroots work. She mentioned something about dads who have lost loved ones as well as the mom. It's a terrible thing to hear a mother cry who has lost a loved one. But imagine the father who has lost that loved one, who has gone into isolation and shame and guilt and turned to substance abuse and alcohol and also abusive. So I like what the FAB, Families Against Violence, said, that there are fathers who needs this also. So to help these organizations get money and have a therapist that looks like us that can help these families to be able to cope in their communities, to be successful as they continue their journey is well needed. So we know it's funding, we know it's guns, I'm not gonna get in there, but we need to find a solution. And the brother said we need to be at the table when these decisions are made. Because we have people at the table that don't look like us, that don't live in our communities, that's distributing the money, and it's all going into the wrong place. So as we continue to have these conversations, please make sure there is someone from our community is there at the table. And may you guys, you 3 ladies, continue to do great work in your community. May the good Lord give you strength as you go through your trials and tribulations. And as you continue to move forward, may we all come together for that one solution and that one important thing, and that's the love.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Ladies, my heart goes out to you. I'm lucky enough to be a great-grandfather and live that long, and I don't ever want to suffer your pain. My heart goes out to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I wish Mr. Williams was still here. He was so close to the point, but like most politicians, not there, right? The problem is right down about a half a mile away. The district attorney, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Hampden County, prosecutes less than 20% of all firearm charges. Don't blame the cop in the street. He writes it up. Don't blame the judge. He can only rule on what's presented. It's the district attorney plea bargaining these charges away.
Yes. Sure is.
And, wait a minute, ladies, unfortunately, right, don't come back and say, well, these are mandatory sentences.
Nope.
And they're not fair. Life is not fair. You have to come across, you just have to do it the right way. Force him to prosecute. I asked him one time, if you're elected, when he first was running, if you're elected district attorney, will you tell all your assistant district attorneys in the courts across the county, don't plea bargain gun charges away? He says, no, I won't. Why pass laws that are not enforced? If you want to fine-tune the laws you have now, are you going to take away the ones that don't work? Do you already pass? Or is that too much common sense? Guys, I do not live in Springfield. Thank God. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Peter McConaughey. I'm a physician, retired physician. I was shot at work in 1983. So I understand why this is such a big problem. Now, a couple of the representatives brought up two things that I'm sure our panelists have thought about more than I have. Number one, we need to find out where crime guns are coming from. In 2014, the Massachusetts legislature passed a bill that said that there would be a database of crime guns. Since 2014, I think it started in 2018. Local police chiefs are mandated that if a gun is found at a scene of a crime, that they will report all the information they have about it to a database at the state, within the state police. No one has any idea what's in that database. It has never been analyzed. And you talk about enforcement. Here's a case where enforcement, you know, we have a law in the books, 2018 to 2024, we've got lots of information from the police chiefs about crime guns, and nobody has analyzed it. We need that information analyzed. And we need it to feed back to the legislature, to public health authorities, and to the people who are, you know, responsible for the public safety. Now, one of the things that my friends in Goal bring up is that that information is probably garbage. that there's no way to enforce that a police chief will report the information accurately. But the way to find out whether that's being reported accurately is to analyze the stuff. Now, one of the things that they're going to find out, and this is also brought up by the representatives, well, let me make a little side run here. 3D guns, people are referring to guns produced by 3D printers. That is not the major threat that ghost guns are. Ghost guns are kits. I can go on Amazon today with no license, get it delivered to my house in a condition that I can put it together with a minimum of expertise. You can make a Glock pistol, the firearms that the police department's carrying. You can order that in Massachusetts and Amazon will deliver it. And it's got no serial number on it. Now, who's going to want to get a gun that has no serial number on it and that you don't need a license to carry? Because we have good laws in this state.
Amazon does not sell firearms.
Sir, we're not in a debate. We're in a listening session.
The gentleman says, yes, they do not sell firearms. Absolutely true. The problem is that these kits are not considered firearms because they are not yet assembled. And as such, the ATF has not been able to regulate them to say that Peter McConerty can't buy one because he's a, some kind of a weirdo and shouldn't have a gun. In Massachusetts, I can buy that gun. I can buy the kit to make the gun with no license. And I think that's wrong, and I think we need to be concentrating on two things. Regulating the flow of do-it-yourself gun building kits, and tracing where the crime guns are coming from through analysis of that database. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Kate Henley, and I do live in Springfield, and I do live in Forest Park. And my children are also out on those streets. But I also do order parts for my firearm, but not from Amazon. But I am licensed, and I do follow all the rules, as long as I can tell which rule I have to follow on which day. But that doesn't really affect where we live in our community. I think that when my young adults go out at night, they face a lot of the same risks that your young adults, ran into. And my children and my siblings have seen people killed right in front of them. And that effect lasts for a long, long time. And that witness that you women bring, that's very real. It hits us. We think we have all these plans. But I do think that mental health availability, that education about what our laws are and how to follow them well, how to teach our children that guns are tools, right? They're tools for good or for bad. It's not bad by itself. It's how you use it. And so I'm really glad that you ladies came out tonight and we got a chance to talk and listen to each other and really see how we can make our city a better place for all of us. Thanks.
Yes.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Juanita, and the other panelists. Your message hits very deeply, and I have great respect for the fact that you're putting yourselves out here, out everywhere, to try to make things better. And thank you, Representative Day, for listening. I just wanted to add one thing. Everyone has made some really excellent points. And I think the answers are it's a multifaceted issue that there are many, many answers to help solve these problems. And mental health is a huge issue. As you said, funding for your resources to be able to help the kids, and the being able to obtain guns so easily through Amazon. And I just want to add that the assault weapon ban that did exist for 10 years did make a difference in this country. And I believe that with the assault type weapon has been used in many shootings. It has been legally obtained by shooters in schools. And the difference between an assault type weapon and a knife, as in England, is that you can kill so many people in such a short amount of time, just very quickly. It takes a little longer to kill someone with a knife. So I believe that this is also a very important facet of the solution. I just want to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Turn the back.
Thank you. My name is Charlie Cook. I am a firearm instructor. I travel around the country interviewing people that are firearm instructors, that are activists, that are authors, that are people that have had to use guns to protect themselves and save their lives. And I just want to say real quick, my heart goes out to you ladies. I have 2 kids. They're in their early 20s, and I can't fathom what you've had to go through. Absolutely. I just looked on Amazon. You cannot buy a polymer frame firearm on Amazon. You cannot buy a barrel. You cannot buy a slide for a firearm on Amazon. These are just gun parts. They're things that you cannot get on Amazon. You can purchase firearms online, but they have to go from a dealer out of state to a dealer in state, and then the dealer has to transfer the firearms to you. I think it sounds to me like the main thing that we need to do is to try to figure out how to stop criminals. I'm interested in having some homemade firearms. I'm interested in all of, I enjoy shooting. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy passing my enjoyment of shooting and target shooting, recreational shooting. I really enjoy this, and I enjoy passing this on to other people as well, and I enjoy seeing them when they hit a bullseye for the first time, and the fun and the joy that the elation that they feel and watching that it's a wonderful thing, and I really enjoy doing that. All of the things that Massachusetts has proposed, or things that Massachusetts has, are things that are legal in other states. You can have a 30-round magazine in several states. You can have magazines that have more than 10 rounds, handguns that have 15 rounds. You can have an AR-15 style rifle with a pistol grip, with a collapsible stock. These things don't make it easier to shoot. This doesn't make them, if it does anything, having a collapsible stock on a rifle means that more than one person can shoot it and use it when they're at the range. All of the evil features, I use air quotes when I say evil features, but all of the evil features of an assault-style firearm don't do anything doesn't do anything to change how the gun shoots. It does the exact same thing. Press the trigger, it goes bang. Press the trigger, it goes bang. The things that a lot of people were talking about here, we're talking about criminal activity. How do people not go down to Georgia and buy guns? They don't go down to Georgia and buy guns. If people are buying guns from a dealer, they have to go through a federal background check. They have to fill out a form that the government keeps and hangs on to forever, to saying that this person purchased a firearm. The gun store has to hang on to these. When the gun store goes out of business, they have to turn these over to the federal government. So the government can keep track of everyone that's purchasing firearms, that's purchasing them legally. How do we stop people from purchasing them illegally?
we have to come down on the criminals. We have to, when we get these people involved in the criminal justice system, they have to keep these people locked up. They have to somehow find a way to deter these people from committing crimes again. And all of the things that get proposed, all of the things that Massachusetts has, puts restrictions on what the law-abiding gun owners, the responsible gun owners, want to do and what they want to purchase. We don't want to commit crimes. We don't want to shoot people. We're not carrying guns in places where we're not allowed to carry them. We're not shooting people randomly outside of our car. We go to the shooting range. We take our friends shooting. We take our family shooting. And we enjoy this responsibly. And when we hear people say that they want to come down on ghost guns, which I can't say seriously, but they want to come down on the homemade firearms, they want to come down on assault weapons and high-cap magazines and all this stuff, all this does is just aggravate us because you're punishing us for things that we didn't do. You're punishing us for crimes that we haven't committed. And nothing that we're interested in, nothing that we're going to be doing. So all it does is probably what the state really wants it to do, is to discourage the law-abiding people from taking the process and going through spending $800 to $1,000 to get a gun license, to buy a gun, to join a range, and to go shooting. All of the restrictions that we have in Massachusetts are encouraging people to not become lawful gun owners. And if we want to really do something to help save communities, then we need to keep the criminals in jail when we have them. Thank you.
Sir Holt, Reverend. Reverend, we're going to bring the microphone over. We're not in a debate, though, so we're having a discussion.
No, I just wanted to say, how do we stop crime? I would like for people to join us. The economic stability of a community is what stops crime. When you don't have a job, so in our community in Springfield, Mass, in the poorer communities, when the procurement of funds come out of the city council for the economic stability of a community, the black community, more often than not, does not receive funds. So we have businesses in where the black people stay in Springfield. We have restaurants and businesses that the economics that's coming out of the city, from the state to the city, doesn't come into our community. Any place you see deprived of economics, you have crime and violence. So when people who want to stop crime stand with us as we ask the Springfield City Council, when they are checking off jobs for contractors, that black contractors get the same type of funding that the Fontaine brothers get, that black businesses get the same money for the economic development of their community as Doyle's and other places. The people are right. You stop criminals from being criminals by giving them a job. You stop criminals from becoming criminals when they have affordable houses. So we took, in the city of Springfield, $900,000 to build a shooting range. But that same money could have been used in that same area to build affordable housing. So we get the money from the state into the city, but the poor people are not receiving the funds. That is why I've got my name on the ballot. I'm running for city council, that we can empower the black community to get some of the resources from we have people who have lost their homes. We had a $194 tax rate hike on families in homes. Springfield, the city of homes, is now the city of the homeless. Sleeping right next to City Hall right now in Springfield are poor people with tents in Commonwealth Square. So if we want to stop criminals from becoming criminals, when they graduate from school, we should have technological advancement for them in training in our schools. We should have guidance counselors in our school. Long Meadow, East Long Meadow, West Springfield, all of those schools, the children are provided resources and helps to help them to decide where they want to go in life. In our school, no guidance counselors, no mental health counseling. And so we want to stop criminals from becoming criminals. Invest in our young people. Invest in the schools. Invest in black businesses. There's no way that the Basketball Hall of Fame should be receiving that money when we have restaurants in our community. We have business in our community and urban development downtown. Urban development isn't for downtown Springfield. Urban development is for our community. Mason Square, Lower Forest Park, Ward 3. Our roads are not paved. The iconography for a young person walking out into his home on Eastern Avenue, Belmont Avenue, it's trash. You can go up down Belmont Ave right now. There's trash, garbage. Our roads are not paved. So you come out of your house and all you have is apathy and you're despondent. So I agree with the brother. If we want to stop criminality, can we, the state legislators, make sure that who's ever the next mayor in our city, make sure that we get the money that we deserve? The black community, and I can only speak for the black community because I'm black. Everybody else has spokespersons that speaks for them. I'm unabashedly want to speak for black people. Nobody serves us the way we should be served. And so, like, I get people's problems. We do got problems in the black community. But again, I'm gonna finish with this. We need to be, economics in the black community is the #1 deterrent to crime. Building up our roads and infrastructure is the #1 thing that will stop crime. I guarantee you, if you remove the police officers from those construction jobs, bidding at $60 an hour, right? Give them to a young person in our city to do the same job, no quarry check, pay them $25 an hour. You'll stop crime. We gotta think outside of the box. Police officers go up and down the streets on their phones, on construction jobs, and those same jobs can be given to young black men and women at less money than the police officers are bidding for. So if people want to help us stop crime, these are some of the solutions. Vote Stokes for city council.
Since we throwing it out there.
Let me see if there's any last comments here before I turn back to our panel.
What you got to say? She's my employee. She's one of my staff.
My name is Angelica Melendez, and I'm a caseworker over at New North Citizens Council. I agree with our first young woman here. I do feel like we need more after-school curriculum with kids, such as after-school programs, maybe before school programs, maybe summer camps, you know, something that family can afford, because that's really what it's about, right? So, for instance, New North, we're a nonprofit organization, right? Half of our programs are free. Why? Because we want to clean up the streets. You know, we want these kids in our programs 24/7. We want to fill in these cracks. You know, we don't want to let them slip in them cracks, because that's where it starts, right?
Yes.
Right now, for instance, we have a summer camp program. Our middle schoolers are free. Why? Because half of these kids, the problems start at middle school. That's where we need to tackle it, you know? So with that being said, I do agree with Miss, what's your name?
Juanita.
Juanita. I do agree with the Forest Park area, Belmont area, maybe a little more higher up to the Forest Park area. They do need something for those kids. Because as a gun and violence prevention caseworker, our main focus is Forest Park all the time. Main focus. That's where we're tackling the streets, trying to get these kids, because that's where shot spotters are going off. And it's true. So, you know, I just wanted to just put my little input in that as a street worker. And yeah, hopefully something gets done.
Thank you, thank you.
Sure.
Representative Day, the panelists, and all others in attendance, thank you for being here tonight. I stand before you to call for the repeal of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 140, subsection 131 Mike. This law exempts both off-duty and retired law enforcement officers from the Commonwealth's assault weapon and large capacity magazine bans, which violates both the Second and 14th Amendments to the United States. This law bans arms that are commonly owned by Americans for lawful purposes, which is impermissible under the Second Amendment. This is supported by multiple Supreme Court cases, including District of Columbia v. Heller, McDonald v. City of Chicago, and Caetano v. Massachusetts. In addition, this law violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, given that citizens are treated both separately and unequally from law enforcement officers in their personal lives. For these reasons, I encourage you and all the state representatives here to do everything in your power to see that this law is struck down. Thank you.
Last chance before I turn back to the panel for words of gratitude. In the back.
Good afternoon. My name is Kiana. I was born and raised here in Springfield, and I was quiet and I listened to everyone and their opinions and their emotions and what they had to say today. And I thank all of you guys for everything you had to say. My father was murdered here in Springfield, and the case is open. I have no clue what happened, and it's been like this for over 15 years. I'm thrilled to know that we are having a conversation about gun violence here in Springfield, because that's an issue. I have friends that I used to be so close with and wonder why we had so much things in common, and it was because we were going through the exact same issues. Their parents were also murdered. Luckily, I had a family who knew how to make sure they handled me correctly. And community centers like the Boys and Girls Club Family Center, I stayed in. They made sure there was always someone there for me to speak with. And they gave me different ways on how to deal with my mental health. And I feel like that's what the issue is here in Springfield. It's a lot of mental health issues that is going underneath the rug that people are not realizing. Whether you're a kid that is athletic, smart, talented musically, or is the shy kid in the classroom, each person may be going through something, and someone has to be there to catch them when they fall, because the world is not free, it's not easy, and everyone's going through something. There may be a day that someone does have to deal with gun violence, and there has to be someone there in place to help them. So I hope with all of us here having this conversation, we are able to find results that will help.
So let me wrap up this discussion tonight first by thanking Juanita, Jarix, and Francine for your stories, your courage in coming up and sharing that with us, and for your work that you continue to do in our communities. You're making a huge difference, and I personally thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to my colleagues, Chairman Gonzalez, the Dean, Chairman Pupolo, Chairman Williams, who's up in the back, Representative Ashen, Representative Duffy, and to Councilor Jacobs, thank you all for coming out. Again, I think you can see from the engagement from your delegation here how plugged in they really are in leading this effort back in Boston to make sure we get the right funding back here to Springfield. We've been on this tour for quite some time. As I said, this is the 10th stop, and we've heard a consistent theme from some of our impacted communities, and that is the money is there, but it's not getting to the right places. There's certainly money that's available and needed in restorative work and reactionary work at times, but we need to do a better job, I think, from the legislature to make sure that the money gets into the community hands on preventative work, on community building work as well. I think that message has come across loud and clear in all of our communities, and I think we've adequately heard that tonight from you three and from other members of the community, so I want to express my gratitude for that as well. We have got one more stop tomorrow in Lenox at 1 o'clock, Lenox Town Hall, where we'll be discussing issues relating to hunters and collectors as well, and soliciting their input out there. So you feel free to drive that 50 minutes with us down the pike a little bit farther. But for tonight, I just want to express my gratitude again for everyone who's come out to share their opinions in a civil dialogue, and for my colleagues as well. Please do reach out if you haven't spoken tonight or want to share your thoughts further to your representatives directly, and you can certainly email me in my office at michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, .day, D-A-Y, at mahouse.gov. We are still in the intake phase of this process, so please reach out, share your thoughts and passion, and again, thank you all very much for tonight.